Welcome to the Winslow Township Board of Education's regular board meeting. Today is Wednesday, 6, 2024. Public notice is given to all board members and associates, and the notice is January 2024 and 18, 2024. Adequate and electronic notice of the public has been provided, specifying the time, place, and manner in which this meeting is being conducted. It was advertised in the Courier Post, posted in all schools, the administration office, the municipal building, the library, the Duty Center, Edgewood East, Ellington, and the Winslow Township Post Offices. And this is our mission statement. The mission of the Winslow Township School District, a large, diverse, and growing community, is to educate all students to become independent, lifelong learners, critical thinkers, and caring and confident members of their community. The district, in partnership with the community, and in the climate of cooperation and mutual respect, will provide an academic environment which values excellence and diversity, encourages students to strive for personal excellence, and assist them in acquiring the knowledge, skills, and attitudes necessary to contribute positively to a rapidly changing world. Roll call, please.
Mr.
Mr. Astor will be absent this evening.
Thank you. Ms. Drake, here. Ms. Martin, present. Ms. Nair, Ms. Peterson, present. Mr. Shaw,
Mr. Shaw will be absent this evening.
Ms. Thomas,
Ms. Thomas will join us by phone, and I'm going to ask Ms. Boyd if she's dialed in yet.
Mr. Ms. Thomas,
I sent her the information, she's thank you. She will be out here.
Ms. Thompson,
Yeah, I know we do have a delay. Okay,
I'll figure it.
okay.
She's not in there.
can I get?
Joe Thomas is here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can we now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
We have
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2023-24 district goals, student achievement, continue to implement best practices for delivering instruction to students utilizing all available and appropriate instructional models. This shall include A, develop plans to increase the graduation rate, B, decrease chronic absenteeism, C, increase in benchmark scores in fourth grade ELA and your scores, D, accountability for all district staff and stakeholders. 2, increase parent caregiver engagement in education. By A, provide opportunities for two-way communication with district stakeholders. B, implement the culture climate survey. And number 3, market our strengths and achievements to all stakeholders to increase capacity for greater parent caregiver community support. By A, work with the communications consortium. B, continue with our public relations marketing plan. C, continue to work with the various advisory committees in the district. And D, focus on refining our communication methods and messages to better market our school district.
Thank you, Ms. Nieves. Moving now to page 2, Dr. Cortez, awards and presentation.
Yes, Madam President, we have one presentation. However, Madam President, before we have the presentation, I have a couple of acknowledgements
Okay.
that I would like to make at this time. For those of you who do not know, by now, we've already posted, of course, on our website, that our own Coach Nika Brown has been named South Jersey Track Coaches Association Girls Track Coaches. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Brown has been with us for a number of years, and she has been very, very successful successful as a result of the performances of our young ladies in various meets over the years. This year in particular, she was undefeated in all of the major events as well as in minor events. We would like to acknowledge the fact that her team was undefeated this year. They won the Woodbury Relay title, Penn Relay 4x4 Philadelphia Area Championship, Olympic Conference Paper Division Championship, Camden County Championship, Group 3, South Jersey Sectional Championship, and they also won the Missouri State Championship. More importantly for Coach Brown, and I'll let her correct me if I'm wrong, I know that at least 90% or more young ladies over the past 10 or more years participated in track and field, graduate from high school, of course, go on to college and graduate with a degree. Over 90% of her young ladies, every one of them, and I think that speaks for itself. The 3 seniors that she had this year are also going on to college to keep with that tradition. And I know the percentage is higher, but I just want to be safely modest in my percentages without speaking to her particularly. However, I asked Coach Grant to come. Coach Grant, if you would come, maybe just go to the podium, introduce the young ladies that you brought with you. Maybe just talk about some of the events. I mean, I said you brought some of your hardware. So, you know, these young ladies have done, and as Coach Brown goes to the podium, I also like to mention that the girls completed their historic season with one of the greatest relays in South Jersey history. They placed 4th in West Philadelphia Nationals, which I've seen on YouTube proudly. In the 1,600 meter relay championship, running a 3:44.42, the fastest time by Jersey 4x4 in 23 years.
Wow.
Records by members of our team. So, Coach Brown, just share a few of the highlights with us. And again, congratulations.
Thank you. I just want to thank the board and the community, I'm sorry, for acknowledging the young ladies and all the work that they put through this year. It's a blessing to be able to be a part of this journey with them because these young ladies work hard and not often are they recognized because sometimes they do get overshadowed. So this year, having them being recognized for all the hard work and that they put through is an honor. With us today, we have Olivia Caro, who is a sophomore on our team. Olivia is one of our dogs, as I want to say. Even at her young age, she is a formidable opponent. She was named to the second team All-State in the 200 meter dash. We have Chantina Walker, she battled a little bit of injuries this year, but she got herself together to come back during our sectional time and is one of our scoring people that helped us secure that win. And then we have Chantina is also a sophomore, and we have sophomore Messiah Bronner, who is one of the best jumpers. I want to say the best jumper in the state because there's no one above her in each of her events. She's also a sophomore. She placed 8th at the New Balance Nationals and 7th in the long jump. And she was the top scoring sophomore at the New Balance Nationals. And she also won the triple jump at the Olympic Games out of everybody in the state. We have this who is breaking records by herself in the and you would not think this woman was a shot player, but she is. She's also 147, and this is what ranks her one of the best in the state. So, and she's a junior. Our team is very young, there's 3 seniors, but what we have come in and what we have still is amazing. This talent is here in the end. Again, we thank you guys for all the support that you give us day in and day out.
Yeah.
This is my assistant, our assistant coaches, Mr. Greg Arnett and Aaron Collins. Mr. Collins is our field guy, and he does both girls and boys. So he has a good job out there, with both sexes up there. And then Coach Arnett is my backbone, along with Coach Custis, because we all work together to make sure. We all work together to make sure that each athlete has what they need, you know, what both boys have.
Congratulations, Coach. Congratulations to the young ladies. I want to say that you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have good coaching, it just doesn't matter. You got to know when to strike, you got to know when to make adjustments, you got to know when to encourage, when you see them slipping back, particularly in major competition. And I know Coach Brown is an excellent coach. He's been demonstrating excellence for a number of years. And again, you cannot substitute. It's just like good teaching. You cannot substitute good coaching. So again, congratulations, Coach Brown. Congratulations, young lady. I don't want to put pressure on anybody, but they're young. Right? Congratulations, ladies. Ladies and gentlemen, we also asked our men's track coach to come today also because they have been able to acquire some tremendous accomplishments. Boys track and field had slipped away a little bit, and under Coach Custis, he has brought us back to respectability as far as men's track and field is concerned. Coach, did you bring any of the young men with you tonight?
No, I did not bring any of my athletes.
Okay, but that's all right. Let me just read some of the accomplishments for Coach Custis because again, it's important. Track, spring track team won the Canyon County Championships. They won the Olympic Conference Patriot Championship, and one of them won last year. So this is the second year in a row championship. They were second in the group section, second in the group 3 state performance, and third in the state in boys track and field. And there was excellent and some tremendous individual wins and accomplishments among the men's team. So Coach Custis, we want to publicly congratulate you for all your hard work, your staff, and those young men. And I know you have to go also, but again, I reiterate that there's no substitute for coaching. The relationship that Coach Custis has with these young men and Coach Brown has with these young ladies go beyond track and field. You got to have a relationship beyond track and field. Academically, socially, emotionally, they have that. So on behalf of the administration, I'd like to congratulate Coach. Want to say anything? I know you don't have time. I would be remiss if I didn't give you time just to say something about your team.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I want to say thank you guys for the recognition. I've been here since 2017. And honestly, it's probably, coaching since 2002. It's probably one of the first times that the Board of Education and Kennedy Board Winslow have recognized hard work that our program is doing. So I really, really appreciate this from the bottom of my heart. So thank you. I started in 2018 and we lost conference league in 2018. So we've had 5 conference championships since 2018. Obviously 2020 because of COVID. So we have won 4 consecutive conference championships over the course of the past 6 years. These young men, they're challenged to get better. We had guys like Jada, who's probably one of the best sprinters in the state of New Jersey, not South Jersey. In 41 years, no sprinter has ever won the 100 to 200 to 400 and won the 4x4 at the section meet. It's only his first year running up. He's a junior. It's only his first year running up. We got guys like Dominic Bossy, 4.2 GPA, taking AP courses. We got guys like Jacob, Chukwu Mekala, who's also an awesome sprinter, ran 48.97. All those guys are seniors. They're really, really amazing. And if you guys ever get an opportunity to come out and see them compete, would love to guys see them compete. The community has been me since I've been here. I really appreciate it. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. As we this evening, to the community, represent the school district and the community in the best possible way. You can't have a conversation tracking anywhere without Winslow Township. Fortunately, when those conversations come up, particularly among my colleagues, I'm like, you can't talk about it without including that. So I just want you to know what you're doing for the district. I try to work in the best possible way, and you really not be boast about you whenever the opportunity presents itself. So again, on behalf of the administration and support, thank you for all you do. Just thank you for all you're doing for my young people. Congratulations. At this time, Madam President, we will move forward with our presentation. As you know, we invited Ms. Lori Perlow, our Public Information Officer for the district. She is coming before us today to share with you her findings, focus groups that were held earlier this year. So at this time, I'd like to call Ms. Perlow. Ms. Perlow, are you going to speak from there? Oh, okay, good. Okay, we can hear it. Now, do we have? Oh, you have. There it is. Oh, she has. Ms. Perlow has it. All right. Go ahead. When it turns.
Is that better?
Yes.
Wonderful. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I am going to be providing an update of all of the communication planning work actually that we did starting from back in the fall.
Excuse me.
Absolutely. Okay. So I wanted to be able to provide an overview of all of the communication planning work that we did. Just this week, we wrapped up the initial draft of the communication plan that I think is important for the other steps that were taken before we got to this point. So back in the fall, the first step that we took was that we reviewed the district or schools newsletters that are posted on the website. We also reviewed the existing social media and the website itself. We looked at the district site and we looked at 2 school sites. We also conducted in March a series of focus groups, which I will get into. And then, of course, I'm going to also share some highlights from the draft communication plan so that you can be familiar with that. So when we did the first step, which was reviewing some of the existing communications, this is just obviously some highlights of the review. There was more in-depth information shared, but for the purposes of this presentation and time, I just want to share a few things. So the first observation with regard to newsletters is that when we were looking for them on each school site, some were very easy to find and some were a little bit more challenging and some we could not find at all. So that was just a bit of feedback. So obviously streamlining that process, making sure that there's set schedules, set process, set tools for each school to use so that it's easier for stakeholders to receive and then also find newsletters that they are looking for on the district website. In terms of Facebook, one of the observations was obviously there's a nice mix of content, there's a very strong following, wonderful engagement, but there's always more that we can do when it comes to social media. Really, the opportunities are endless. And so we made some recommendations there in terms of For one, adding the social media feed to the district's website, because sometimes if somebody's not familiar, not finding it on their own organically through social media, but they're visiting the website often, it's another way to drive people to the social media pages. Would love to see more photos, some more videos, things like that. Again, these are just recommendations based on the review. And then, of course, in terms of the website, we looked at the district site, we looked at 2 school sites. And most importantly, and I don't think this is news to anyone, but the site itself is out of date. I know that the district is in the process of revamping and replacing the website. So that's the good news. We didn't need a communication plan to be able to take those steps. That's already in process. So in terms of the focus groups, we conducted approximately 7 of them. Most of them were in person, a couple of them were virtual, well attended, wonderful participation in all of them. We held focus groups with employees. We broke them down by different stakeholder groups within employee groups. So we had the administrative team, certificated, we had non-certificated, we had a parent group, we had 2 student groups, which were quite impressive, and then of course a group for board members. And focus groups are always very valuable because we get to talk directly with stakeholders and ask them questions and get their feedback, which is very constructive and very helpful in this process. So the chart that you see here, again, is really just top line highlights of what came out of the focus groups. There were a lot of common themes, and those common themes are essentially what helped me to create and develop the goals for the communication action plan. So across all of the groups, we saw there were conversations and feedback about culture. There's wonderful culture here, but there's some inconsistencies, and there's definitely ways that we can enhance and improve culture as it relates to communication. District and school perception concerns were heard throughout each group, and that really, what I heard from the participants in the focus group is that they care deeply about this district. They care deeply about the students. The students said that they know how much the teachers care about them, but outside of the school, they worry and fear that others who aren't directly involved in the school district may have negative perceptions, and it's very frustrating. And so I don't want to digress too much at this point, but hopefully many of you saw, or all of you saw, the story that was in the Philadelphia Inquirer just about 10 days ago about Shaheen Mohammed, who's a student at the high school, was the subject of the student-produced documentary. When I heard about this from Dr. Carcamo and Mr. Ingram, his teacher, I was so moved by his story and by the work of the students that I had reached out to an education reporter, Melanie Bernie, who you probably read her work. And when I shared the documentary and the story about Shaheen and his class, she too said, I've got to get on this story. And she came out, she did an interview with Shaheen and some of his classmates. And if you haven't seen it, please search for it. A PDF copy of it after critique, but it really is a wonderful story and something that everybody can be proud of. So that's what we need more of. That's why I'm here, and that's why we're working together. Also, a desire for updated communication practices and channels and tools is something that came out of a lot of the focus groups. And the website is one example, but there's other ways that we can make sure that we're communicating with the most current tools so that we can make sure that the communications that we're sending out are actually being received properly. So about the communication plan. So you're not going to see the plan in its entirety, or we would be here all night. Not the best use of everyone's time, but I want to give you just some top line information about the plan. I'm going to show the goals and some of the key objectives for each of the goals to give you some flavor of what's in the plan. So there were 3 main goals to the plan. All of the goals, objectives, and action steps that are included are recommendations, and they're recommendations that were based on the feedback from the focus groups and also from best practices in school communications. I've worked in school communications for more than a dozen years. I've worked with close to 30 different school districts throughout the state. So I see a lot, and I'm able to take those experiences, of the best practices and share them here in Winslow. The key to any plan, including the communication action plan, is the implementation. It's a lengthy plan. It is not a plan that could be implemented in its entirety in a short period of time. My estimation usually is anywhere from 1 to 3 years, and that is because it's usually a matter of resources, financial resources, but also staff capacity. And that's something that is obviously critical to the implementation. Most of the items are things that can be divided up, spread, between buildings, administrators, and individuals, but it definitely takes time to get to a place where we can implement the plan in its entirety. I always recommend that the plan is reviewed annually so that we can take a look at what has been accomplished. And sometimes things change, priorities change, new ideas come up. And so the communication plan is something that would be a fluid document that we look at each year and update it accordingly. And obviously, there's without saying, the communications consortium that I am connected with is always here and available should the district choose to continue to work together. So let's get into the plan a little bit. Goal 1, I'll read it for you just so you can hear it in its entirety. So the goal 1 is to gradually transform Winslow Township School District's communication culture to promote student success and stakeholder satisfaction by fostering a collaborative, parent, and engaging environment. Sound good? Yes. So the key objectives here, and these are the 3 key objectives under this goal, so you're not missing anything here. But the first one is to start with internal communication. So what we know in this world, not just in public education, but in the private sector too, is that you've got to start from the inside and then go out, right? So when employees are informed, and that's a general practice, if you've got news to share, you go from the inside out. We let our employees know, and then we let the public know. So the first objective is to focus on internal communication practices. The second is to enhance communication with students. I have to say, my colleague led the focus group for the high school students. I led the focus group for the middle school students. It's the second middle school focus group I've ever hosted, and I was blown away by the students and their interest in communication. I truly was. The first few minutes were a little uncomfortable. They didn't know me. They didn't really know why I was there. I think a little guarded. Totally get it. But after a few minutes, they understood this was going to be a constructive two-way dialogue. They really opened up. And I was blown away by the level of interest in communication, the way they communicate with their teachers, the way they communicate with their building leaders. It was really, it was wonderful actually to see. And so that's why I made sure that that was an objective. And the second objective for a reason, we're all here for students, and so everything we do obviously involves them. But that's why that was the second key objective. And then of course, the third is to increase communications with parents and caregivers. I'm a parent. I have 2 teenagers that are in high school. I've been through years and years of receiving communication events, the good news, the bad news, the calls from the teachers. So this is always an area that you can find. I wouldn't say that there were any huge gaps in parent communication, but there were certainly opportunities for improvement. And so when it comes to that particular objective, it's not that we necessarily need to add anything or do anything that's significantly different than what's being done. But overall, we want to take a look at what we are doing, make sure that it's consistent and that it's effective and that it's efficient, and that the information we're trying to convey to parents is in fact being received. Moving on to goal 2. This particular goal is about cultivating a more positive perception. So I spoke earlier about the theme that came through in the focus groups where students, employees, and parents are very connected, a lot of loyalty to the school district, but they worry about outside perspectives feeling very different. So there were additional objectives, and these are the 3 most important. So the first one, obviously, is to highlight student and staff success stories, right? So the Shaheen story that I shared with you a little while ago is, again, a perfect example. That story wasn't just about Shaheen, though, it was also about his teacher. And that really did come across, in my opinion, if you read the story, and just being there for the day that the students were interviewed and the teacher was interviewed. Mr. Ingram is a really special teacher to those students, and he holds a very special place in their life, and that really came across very clearly during the interview. And I think it was important, that we continue to highlight the teachers as well as the students as we move forward. I have some great ideas for next year because I think that whole program is really cool and fascinating, and I want everybody to know that. But anyway, so that's the first key objective. The second, and I know some people cringe a little bit, ensure transparency, accountability, and trust. This is always an area that every school district, this is not specific to Winslow, this is something that every school district can and should work toward. I know that the district does a lot of communications and a lot of work in this area already. There's always more that we can do. Lastly, is promote the mission, values, and initiative. I loved hearing the mission statement being read at the start of this meeting. These are things that we can build into other communications as well, not just at the board level, but at the building level and the students. Because when we know what our mission is, know what our values are, we're reminded of that, it kind of keeps us centered and focused, doing the right thing, and it reminds us why it's here, doing the hard work that we do on education. Finally, goal 3 is to enhance engagement and improve information accessibility, this one is wordy, by systemically modernizing our communication channels and methods, ensuring all stakeholders receive timely, relevant, and interactive communication tailored to their preferences, needs, and technological capabilities. There's a lot in that statement. In terms of the key objectives here, and there are a few more in the plan, but these are the 3 most important. The first is to assess and modernize communication channels and methods. And again, as I said earlier, I know that the website is something that's being talked about and looked at and will be replaced. That's probably the most important step that the district can take right now. But there's other channels that we use for communication that can also be looked at and assessed to make sure that they're ADA compliant, that they translate easily into other languages so that, again, everybody who needs to receive this information is able to in their language. Goes without saying, timely and relevant communication. Of course, we want to make sure that we communicate in a timely manner, and then monitoring and evaluation of communication effectiveness. If we're utilizing tools and those tools aren't working for us, then we should not use those tools. That's the quick snapshot of the third objective there. That's what that one means. So if we're using social media, we've got strong analytics, we want to build on that. If we're using a newsletter tool and we get 3 readers that stay on the newsletter for 30 seconds, we gotta look at that. That needs improvement, just as an example. So this wraps up the goals. I'm happy to take questions from the board if you have any.
Not a question, just to say. We have been working of course, throughout the school year. I think a lot of the information she provided us, particularly the focus groups, are a lot of things that we had discussions about here from other individuals, only confirm need to be done, must be done in order for us to improve our communications across the board. So I want to thank Ms. Farrell for her hard work and giving us insight, because I think all of us agree with those goals you spelled out for us, things we absolutely have to do. So it's right on. We appreciate it. Thank you for your hard work and constantly communicating with us that we meet on a regular basis. And I think at this point, there hasn't been a mess in the process. So thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you a whole bunch for your presentation. We appreciate it. And given what you've seen today for our athletics and our track team, what is more going on a national level, how do we expound on that and make sure that we're exposing that to who needs to know about that success moving forward.
Great question. That's a great question. And actually, through the focus groups, some of the feedback that we heard was that the community knows a lot about the athletic success, but they don't necessarily know about other things, which was interesting. And what I know in my role is that newspapers in particular, which are the ones that we're trying to reach, right? Television stations, the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Courier Post, that's who we want to convey all of the good news to. They have their built-in departments for athletics. So I've read some great stories about Winslow athletics teams, but one of the things that came across the focus group is we don't know about the arts. We don't know about other things. So my goal and my role in all of this is to make sure that we have balance so that we know about the wonderful outcomes of the athletics teams, but that we also know about the arts, student achievement, and everything else to balance out and try to get that mix, right, of content and good news out. So I hope I answered your question. But it's really the best example is really what we did in the Shaheen story is the information was shared with me. I asked some questions. We had a couple of phone calls. And then I said, you know what, this rises to the level of reaching out to the Philadelphia Inquirer. I had a pretty good gauge at this point in my career of knowing what reporters have an interest in. So when something is unique and different than another school district, that's usually when they pay attention a little bit more. Sometimes we've got, and actually Director Cut, we ended up having Channel 6 come out that day during that event, which was a fabulous event for students.
Ms. Farrell, would you also share with the whole community your recommendation for that story and bringing it to another level, particularly online, what Mr. Thomas is asking?
Sure. So in terms of the NFL documentary, yeah. So what I would love to see, because it moved me, and everyone that I shared the documentary with was just blown away. In fact, I didn't even share this with you, but I work for the alternative program in North Jersey, and I shared the documentary with a couple of teachers that I was working with there on a different event, and they were so impressed with the way that they shared it with their students. I didn't have a chance to tell you that. But I have some great ideas for next year. I would love to see some sort of a preview or showing a little red carpet event where we can show the documentary, let the public come in and see it, invite the media in, maybe do a little Q&A with the students who are involved. Because I was impressed by the students who were involved with the production as well, not just Shaheem and his story, but the students who got to know their own peer in a different way and then just produce a documentary about him. I mean, it's remarkable. It moved me. I think I said this now 3 times. It has moved me. I'm a parent. I work in communications. I have 2 teenagers of my own. I'm sure they watched the video too. So there's just, that's the kind of work that we want to let everyone know about.
Ms. Pearl, you also speaking about documentary.
Yeah.
Level.
Yes. Sorry, I missed that part, yeah. So I have been involved with the New Jersey School Public Relations Association, the National School PR Association. I'm actually on their board. The New Jersey chapter has an awards competition every year. One of the categories is media relations. So I spoke to Dr. Petit earlier this week. I had asked for his permission to submit that story for an award. No promises, have no idea what else will be in the contest, but I think it has great potential to be a winning story, which would be great for the district.
Ms. Perlo, I had one thing. Dr. Coates said you were coming. I said I was going to pick your brain a little bit. And I think a lot of what you presented today will kind of hopefully lend itself to one of the issues we have in the district. One of our district goals was an increase in parent engagement. And Dr. Coates has done a great job putting on a lot of parent events this year. And what we have found is not necessarily participation in those events across the board. So I kind of wanted to pick your brain as to how we could tweak our approach a little bit to kind of increase that.
Yeah, so that is an issue in so many school districts. And so it becomes challenging, especially if you're hosting, a parent university or anything, any event that requires time and effort to plan, which is all of them. And don't get people in the room. So some things that some school districts are doing is they're recording the events and they're having them available online so that parents can go back to them. That's just one. Looking at the time of day, the day of the week, keeping in mind that parents have, different work schedules and different obligations, making sure that if you're doing something in the evening or even really at any time, that if you can make babysitting available, that's another way because sometimes childcare can be an issue. So there's a lot of different factors, but it helps if we get feedback on the events. And sometimes we can and sometimes we can't. But as long as we can offer things in different ways, but having something at a minimum, available on demand on the website and push it out through social media and through a newsletter, making sure that everybody knows it's there, at least it's searchable, they can go back to it if they can't be there in person. But we see this in so many communities. I think it was one of the blessings of COVID was that a lot of times we get more participation virtually in events, and it isn't always necessary to have it in person. So just a few things to think about there.
Is this question just for the board?
No.
I have a question and a comment.
Sure.
I'm Russell Bates, and you said it's gonna take about 3 years for this program really to see the results of some of the things that you put in the program. Am I correct?
Just to clarify, it could take up to 2 years to implement the plan. The results we would see right away we had with some of the coverage that we've received in the news already. And the website.
One of the major problems that I see, I've been speaking very little for the last 15 years in the district. Coach Brown and getting our parents come out and meet with us. Our parents come out, they know she saw them when they knew who the church from. My plan is to one board member, why don't we put some money into the budget for public relations? I was told we are not allowed to put money into the budget for public relations. Now, if you notice the track team, we got 3 coaches, volunteer coaches, people like me, can I speak to the kids? That needs to happen. And we need more people to speak to the arts, science, English, history. If we don't do that and spend some money on public relations, because the track team, Coach Brown and Coach Custer, they're there night and day, after school, academics, and so forth. If we can get that implemented, and I think you can elaborate, I think this would be a tremendous asset to our school district and getting our kids on par academically in the areas that I just mentioned.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's what I do. It's what I advocate for. Being able to offer school communication and shared service allows the district that don't have a full-time PIO to have some level of service, and that has proven to be successful here. Obviously, that's at the discretion of the board. With regard to the accountability regulations that I think you're probably referring to, there's certainly ways to work within the regs. Don't compromise the district in any way. And it's my wish that every school district in New Jersey had a full-time PIO. It's just not realistic. But is this something the district can work towards? Absolutely, and they are. But that takes time and planning. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I have a question. Has any of the other districts used college interns in communication?
That's a great question. None of the districts that I work with use them, but some do. As you know, and I've worked with college interns in the past in other positions. There's, first of all, a few things. Somebody has to manage them. There isn't always time for that. I think if the intern had a specific role working with an employee or a consultant, I think it could work. If it was an intern only, I think that could become an issue unless they had a very specific task. A lot of times we work with sensitive information, and there's privacy issues and things like that. So I think there's certainly a place for a student intern in the area of communications. In fact, Rowan has one of the only school communications certificates. So,
And
yeah,
I know that interns are good positions.
sure.
From that work.
Oh, well, it's like,
And now you're graduate.
yes, yes. So, and they're actually, the New Jersey School of Nurse Association gets a scholarship every year to Rowans in school PR. Yeah.
I don't know who this question should go to, but I know we're working towards upgrading website that was listed as part of our goals. Do we know a time frame or like, is there information about, obviously that can't happen overnight.
That recommendation on the board report tonight.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Good timing.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Yes, I was listening to you concerning the fact that, you said that interns are not really readily available.
No, I didn't mean that. Sometimes when we have it, we have to make sure that there's someone to manage that. So if there is a full-time PIO in the district to work with them, collaborate with them, and essentially train them and oversee them, I wouldn't want them to be working on their own. They have to be working with someone. But we don't have a communications person at this time. So I think it could work. But I don't know if it works right now. Yeah.
Years ago, had interns come in, also speakers bureau in science and math. Why can't we have people coming in the area of science and math? These people who work in industry or other facets of science and math, and encourage students to enter into professions that they wouldn't normally come in contact with. There are many professions today that are out there in science and math that didn't exist even 10 years ago. Why can't we have these people coming into the school system, into the math and science classes?
So we actually spoke about this with regards to community engagement, and that was actually one of my recommendations as a way to engage the community. And Dr. Petit and Dr. Carcamo informed me that this is something the district is already doing. They have speakers who come in, and there are other opportunities to engage with business professionals.
It is something that, however, it is something that can be expanded, to broaden the scope. But yes, we have done that across the board, the elementary school. But again, it is a program that can be expanded.
Sure. I think the original question was about an intern with regards to communication. Yeah, just to clarify. Yeah.
That's why I think the initial thing was, probably get the news out. I think that's how it started.
Yeah.
And so just,
Can you speak up, please?
I think the initial conversation was how do we get the news out regarding all of the content areas, performance of students academically in the arts and all in the content areas. And then Mrs. Peterson followed up with the suggestion of interns, and Mrs. Perlow explained the pros and cons of how to use an intern. And then it followed up with having people come in as speakers, so two totally different things, because we do have people come in. But this was about getting the news out, what's happening in all of the departments. And so but we have some ideas.
I just wanted to add, this jogged my memory with regard to a student intern involved in communications. I have some colleagues who are full-time PIOs. One in particular, one is in a high school district, and they actually trained students to handle the social media for the school district.
I
And
do the
it
same.
worked.
That's right.
Okay, that's good. We're speaking the same language. So it's certainly, I don't think it's something the district is ready to do right now, but I definitely think it's something that we could consider down the road. And it's something that has worked well.
I'm gonna ask a stupid question.
No stupid question.
So define, what is a PIO? That you're using that term.
Public information.
Thank you.
So,
Well, I'm not, I don't know, I could be
So it's also obviously for, a lot of times there's a negative connotation to school relations, right? So, it's, public information officer is a critical and vital role in any public entity, or private entity, frankly. Government uses them, and school districts use them too, but we need more school districts in New Jersey to use them. Okay,
Thank you, Ms. Ferguson.
thank you, and thank you for the opportunity.
We'll be in touch.
Sounds good.
So board members, after that wonderful presentation, I would just like to remind that certainly in August, when we will be having our retreat, this absolutely will be one of the things that will be added for that retreat. Moving now, board members, to page 2, would there be any correspondence at this time?
None at this
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Moving now to our minutes, I'm asking for a motion to approve the minutes from the following meeting of the Board of Education. Our regular meeting, which was held Wednesday, June 5th, 2024, open session. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of our regular meeting Wednesday, June 5th, open session.
Second, Ms. Martin.
Moved by Ms. Nieves, second by Ms. Martin. Do you have any further comments or questions?
Just want to know, Madam President, that there is a change noted in the body of the agenda.
Yes. Approval of these minutes will include a correction to item number 16 for the Secretary's report to change the account from number 60 to account number 61. Again, to change from account 60 to account 61. And that is the change that's made in the minutes. So will there be any further questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call.
Ms. Shredden? Pardon me. Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Nieves? Yes. Ms. Peterson? Yes. Ms. Thomas?
Has she joined us yet?
I see a phone.
She did, yeah.
Oh, she abstained.
She abstained. Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
And Ms. Pitt?
Yes.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Board members, moving on to our board committee reports. Would there be a committee report out of our athletic committee at this time?
Madam President, we could be on the agenda to have a report, but I do not. But I do have a statement from our committee. I'd like to read. I can read that in new businesses.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Moving now, would there be a report out of our citizen advisory committee?
Yes, there will be.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
do you want to give that now? Oh, okay.
Hello, everyone. Citizens Advisory Committee, meeting minutes from June 6, 2024. The meeting began at 7:05 on Thursday, June 6, 2024, in the Administration Building here. In attendance were Faye Crook, Wanda Law, Diane McKenzie, Jennifer Moss, and Marcy Tomasello. Absent were Rosemary Hoffman, Lou Kagan, Chris Renzoli, and Greg Week. And our board liaison is Rita Martin, who's present. The old business was very timely, communication between parents and school, which tied very nicely into the presentation this evening. There were 3 old business suggestions that keep recurring. One was suggesting a letter be sent home with bus assignments about student suggested behaviors with the driver and other students as a reminder in conjunction with the bus schedules that go out with those situations. The availability for parents to visit the school school potentially prior to the beginning of the year, like a family day. And a recurring whole business theme that's come up is the welcome packets to all the brand new district parents to a particular school. The second order of whole business was cell phone policy, which is a brief discussion about the outcome of the suggestion to expunge those who were only suspended under a policy prior. And then number 3 was discussion was held on the recent suggestion to the board that more community services become available to help students and families be utilized by the board. That was in particular with some of the community organizations that have offered to give free resources to the district. New business was a discussion that was tabled and is going to be brought up at the August meeting about restorative practices and some of the other local districts that are having much success with those situations and with those practices. So the CAC wanted to continue that conversation at their August meeting. The second order of new business was comprehensive review. What was the outcome and was it complete? We saw part of that today with the communications review process this evening. And then 3 was upcoming events were announced by the group, including Juneteenth, Father's Day Cookout on June 29th at the Bud Dugal Senior Center, and discussion around CAC being present as a community group at those events. And that concludes the report for the June 6th meeting.
Mr. Julian, we could stay for a minute with regards to the report. Dr. O'Keefe, looking at the old business, specifically number 1, would you care to comment on that, Dr. O'Keefe? Because I'm pretty sure that we mentioned that.
A letter be sent home with bus students suggested behavior with the driver. Could you?
Sure. I'm going to well, I was present at that meeting because Martin was president at that meeting as well. But what I've read in minutes is just there was discussion around that sometimes behavior from students on the buses is not up to our expectations as a district.
Right.
And so potentially we always send out a notice with their bus assignment on it at the beginning of the year. So potentially there could be a quick paragraph in there just about what the district's expectation is so that it's level set in writing. And that way, when the district gets something,
Right. Right. We do address that. And Mrs. Wall, I know we addressed it as part of the rules. How that's
So, are you,
Mrs.
hi. So are you, referring to when a student has a bad behavior on the bus?
No.
So you're talking about
Prior.
prior to?
Right.
So it's in the
Just setting
handbook.
that expectation ahead of time. So
Yeah.
that way it makes it easier for the
Because right.
It's in our,
Are you talking about what's in the handbook?
correct. Reiteration of what's in the handbook at the time that the bus assignment goes out.
So
Setting
is-
that expectation in advance.
So we can start with on the one page and on. That way
Absolutely.
we know what it is.
Exactly.
Because behavior through the bus driver and we talk about necessary. But I'm not sure something is called, and we can work that out.
Yeah.
Just need to have some clarification.
Absolutely.
All right.
thank you.
Availability for parents to visit the school prior to the end of the school year, family day.
We know that's logistically a difficult thing, so I will put that caveat.
Time is everything because it's the only time our custodial staff has an opportunity to do thorough cleaning. People on vacation, administrative, we have responsibility. So I'm not sure how that would work. However, most new students, particularly those already in the district, have already made the distance to the school itself prior to the school year. So you're talking about someone who just moved in yesterday, having an opportunity to visit the school prior to school opening. I'm not going to try to respond tonight. I really think that's thought as to how logistically it can be done. And making sure that we have the staff, the buildings ready, things like that. Because some buildings are being used now, they're on a late Saturday, cleaning that sort of thing. So it's something that we can consider. But I would hesitate to try to say, yes, we can do it tomorrow, or we can work that out right now. Obviously, it takes planning, and I would not give it any type of justification of trying to do that tonight. But it's a consideration there. A lot of the people need to be with me to make that happen. All right. Oh, did you?
I want to respond to that because any of the parents who come in to register students live here, if they request to tour the building, it's always granted. The only issue is that they just can't show up and they need to fall in schedule to make sure that the administration is there, that the building is being cleaned, or that we don't have other programs in place at the time. So it has never been an issue, but if you are referring to establishing just a family day, I think that's what Dr. Cote said is a real challenge. We've always granted peers the opportunity to tour the building.
Yeah, doing the registry.
Absolutely.
All right. What's that? Is it? The third one is well.
There used to be a law that when you became a new, I know that this existed. It was more just have we updated it, are we up to date with it, and is it going on?
Principals do. Okay. And so we even modified that to include those things that are important for parents to know. So for example, the expectations of student conduct, key policies that parents need to be aware of, cell phone policies, dress code, HIV policies, and we try to do that in a little snippet so that it would be a quick read for parents. So all of the principals created some kind of a little small 1-page, 2-page informational package for parents. So it may not be in the same format that you're talking about, but information is provided to parents in front so they know about their school and key things that they should be aware of regarding the schools. So if you have a particular school in mind where there seems to be a concern, if you share that with me, then we're in a better position to address it.
Absolutely, I'll let the committee know that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Have a great night.
Moving now, board members, education committee with 004 of education.
No report at this time for the month of July. Scheduled Tuesday, so Wednesday or Monday.
Thank you, Ms. Peters. Moving on to our market. Report out of our marketing committee.
No report at this time. We had been set to meet today prior to the board meeting in person, but I was the only person available from the marketing committee, so we're hoping to reschedule for next.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Nealon. Operations committee, report out of operations.
Yes, Madam President. The Operations Committee met on Tuesday, June 25th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. In attendance were Ms. Stratton, Committee Chair, and Mr. Shaw. Also in attendance was Ms. Boyle and Ms. Chico. The following items were discussed. 1, 2021 to 2022 capital project status. Security alarms at the high school and middle school. We received the final pay application for the project has been closed. School 6, main office, HVAC replacement, that's becoming mechanical. The project remains open. 2, current capital projects. Circulation pump at the school, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the middle school, the vendors has purchased supplies has been cited. The pre-construction meeting has been scheduled for Monday, July the 1st, 2024. The middle school facade repair and painting. The pre-construction meeting was held Tuesday, June the 25th, 2024. Work is scheduled to begin on Wednesday, June 26, 2024. High school HVAC upgrade. The balance of the fundings will be available as of July the 1st, 2024. We will rally to finally get this project out of the gate. School 6, HVAC upgrade. Documents required to be submitted to the SDA for the grant approval are on the agenda. Before and after school projects, Dr. Mills shared that the summer campers are having a great time. For the Long Range Facilities Plan, LRFP, has received approval from the state. 2024 to 25 budget projects were reviewed. The HVAC system at School 5, reach track replacement School 1 through 4, roof placement, J Hall at the high school, pole barn, high school athletics, roof replacement, administrative building. 6, architects, the request for a proposal RFP for these services was reissued and opened on June the 12th, 2024. 2 vendors respond, Land Associates and EI Associates. Interview will be scheduled. The meeting adjourned at 6:29 p.m. and the next meeting is scheduled to be determined.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. I actually didn't expect that you could read it, considering the difficulty that you're having with your left eye, but you did. I was doing
my best.
Your best was great. Thank you so much. With regards to our policy committee meeting scheduled to be tomorrow, Thursday the 27th, at 4 p.m. And all members have been notified of that date. Moving now, board members, I'm at the top of page 3. I'm asking for a motion to approve the superintendent's report that begins at the top of page 3 and then continues through the bottom of page 8. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the superintendent's report as it appears on pages 3 through 8.
Second, Ms. Martin.
Moved by Ms. Nieves, second by Ms. Martin. Any further comments or questions?
If I may, Madam President, Mr. Thomas, our Vice President, indicated that he had questions regarding 13, item 13. Is that correct, Mr. Thomas?
What page?
Just now, or?
Whenever it's convenient for the addressee to address.
What
It would be
page?
appropriate now, to question on, I don't see it being a, closed session item, so we can.
Here's the question on this.
Yes,
What
on
page?
item 13 on page 5.
Okay.
Yes, one time organization for high schools, to advertise. They also do, list their name, things like that sort. It's another way, so that's what organizations are. So it gives us an opportunity to enhance our information to athletic programs. The athletic department will receive 15% rebate on they put out the magazine, the poster, they sell holiday information. Whatever they get 15% in return for it.
Now, the 15%, what is that allocated to?
So,
To the athletic.
yeah, it's a fundraiser for the athletics, and so,
It's not earmarked.
The athletic director decides how the money will best fund the program.
So it's pretty much, it's not like all the money you make goes to the team. That's not the way it works. It goes into the program and they disseminate the money to all teams or whatever the need may be. So let's say, for example, field hockey may need something in particular, so they want to direct those money to field hockey.
Is the band in that group?
Excuse me?
Is the band in that group?
No, This is only for athletes.
I'm asking a question.
No, no, it is, sports outreach program. It does not include.
Thank you, Dr. Porter.
Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Redmond?
Yes. Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Nair?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas? Oh, thank you, Ms. Thomas. Mr. Thomas
Thomas, yes.
and Ms. Motion.
Thank you. Moving now, board members, I'm at the top of page 9. Business Administrative Board Secretary's report. However, before I ask for a motion on that report. Before I ask for a motion on that report, I've been reminded, and Ms. Williams correct me,
I think
the correction is
person.
Is in personnel. So therefore, board members are making a motion to approve the business administrative board secretary's report as it begins at the top of page 9 and continues through to the bottom of page 22. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the business administrator board secretary's report as it appears on pages 9 through 22.
Second, Mr. Martin.
Moved by Ms. Hernandez, second by Ms. Martin. Any further comments or questions?
I had several, Mrs. Pitts.
Okay. Page and item number.
Page 13, item number 14. The professional development and materials for mathematics.
Any question?
For which grade levels is that for?
So it's across the grades. So I believe that's part of our training academy works.
Okay, thank you. And then on page 14, number 15, so there's a bid for web-based diagnostic assessment. Is that the renewal already, or are we looking at a different program?
It is
Approved level. It's the and math grade case. Had one that responded 2 years on that. And it was curriculum associates LLC.
But the question is, does that replace iReady? That's not the case.
No, it's not a replacement.
Right.
So it's just a renewal of iReady to continue on.
Yes.
And, hold on, I think I have one more. Page 19, number 36.
36, you think?
Yes.
So right, for system, and digital controls. These are resolutions that SDNet is requesting. Certain, so, those items tomorrow, we will send the packet up to the grant for six, about $2.8 million.
Okay. So
And the
when we-
requirements for that grant, in the grant requirements itself listed that we prepare, and I was consulted by Mrs. Boyle on this, these 3 separate resolutions. We did it, actually found one that actually did it back in 2014.
Yeah.
So Mrs. Boyle and I discussed it. And these are the 3 resolutions that we need to include in our grant application packet.
Okay, so does that mean that the project will be able to move forward this summer, or is it gonna push it back because we had some?
Because of timing and availability of equipment, the construction project was still delayed.
hopefully it will be next summer. So we get the approval of designing, we have to get FDA, I'm sorry, FDA approval for the project, and then go out. We can bid sometime this year, and then we'll be there. We can source the material, get, start the project in summer. We're looking at possibly having high school students till 5 start. So in terms of parents walking around the building, I don't know about that. And then if not, historically, clean every other building and perk like vulture. As soon as they walk out, they can just swamp the building and clean it so that it's ready for the next day. And there have been times where I want to cry because I think we're never going to make it. Yet they pull it out. Next summer.
We are hoping, Mrs. Nieves, we've been trying to get air conditioning for those buildings, the second floors, for quite some time. As you know, we've been having discussions. And hopefully with all the approvals, we can finally next.
That'll make my children happy, thank you. Okay, that was all my
Yes.
questions. I saw it, so I was a little confused, but thank you for clarifying.
Any further questions?
Yes, the clear to page 12 through 13, item 13A. The item educational website content.
Okay. Ms. Peterson, you said page 12?
Page 12 is
and what item number?
Number 13. And it's submitted on educational website, web content management system design.
Right.
And that's on the website.
Yes.
Yeah, we're talking about this.
Yes.
Making sure it's on. You all mentioned out in the audience what we are doing, so it's right there.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Any further?
Oops, thanks, Ms. Peterson, for reminding me. I had forgotten to mark that one on my other thing. So Educational Networks, who we're gonna award the contract to, that's who's currently our website. Builder.
Yes.
I just had a little, and Dr. Coteen, I appreciate you sending over the RFP with all of our specs on it. I just had a little bit of pause because I noticed a discrepancy between a lot of the bids.
Right.
So it was just one of those, you get what you pay for type of
Right.
things.
Well, at this point, through the investigative process, we realized that the website vendor that we presently have had a lot more to offer, but of course, it came at additional costs. So we pretty much at this point was getting what we were paying for. However, we're going to invest more into the vendor, which had a lot more to offer us in that process. We found that staying with them, one, because they have a lot of offer, two, to upload and change everything is probably one of the longest and tedious process because it's about clearing out everything we have in place and then starting anew. At this point, we don't necessarily have to do so, but we can't continue to broaden what we have, improve what we have at an additional cost. And we felt that it was probably the most expedient to get it done. And I think once we get started, the board and the community will be able to provide it.
Okay, fair enough.
Board members, any further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Jordan?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Deanna?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas? Yes. Thank you. Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Thank you. And Ms. Pitt? The motion has carried.
Thank you, Ms. Sewell. Board members, moving now to our personnel report. Before I call for a motion on that report, I draw your attention to page 26, number 11, with the heading 2024 Teacher Training Academy. We just want to add another account to that particular item. So as you can see, it reads account number 20-488-200-100. We want to add to that this particular account. Title 2, and the account number is 20-200-200-100. All right? Okay, so therefore, board members, I'm asking for a motion to approve the personnel report as it appears on page 23, continuing to the end of page 26 with the addition to item number 11.
Madam President, just for transparency, 2488. So, and we're gonna, just like we control the type, we can make the grant. So, grant. So you see, approval.
Right, it'll show.
It'll show.
Okay. Any further questions on that? Or questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Do we have a?
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the personnel report beginning on page 23, going through page 26 with the addition of the account number.
Second is.
Moved by Ms. Anderson, second by Ms. Martin. Hearing no further comments or questions, roll call.
Ms. Drake? Yes. Ms. Martin? Yes. Yeah. Ms. Peterson? Yes. Ms. Thomas? Thank you. Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
The motion is
Thank you, Ms. Board members, keep now, top of page 27. Let's move to our agenda. And the three little pink sheets that we usually get.
Madam President, to our agenda, like to point out, there is a small group, and you're getting every power while we're here. It was expected, so I guess sign language. Mrs. Penna said that it is happening outside, which was expected. So hopefully, all right.
We can zip right into that.
Okay, moving right along with our agenda, we're now at the agenda, and I'm asking for a motion to approve the Business Administrative Board Secretary's report, as it appears on our agenda. It begins with page 1 on our agenda. And as you can see, and I'm sure we've read it, it continues through to the top of page 7. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the Business Administrative Board Secretary's report on our agenda as it begins on page 1 and goes to the middle of page 7.
second is.
Moved by Ms. Anderson. Would there be any further comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Drake? Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Yeah. Ms. Peterson? Yes. Ms. Thomas? Thank you. And Ms. Pitt?
Well, moving now still on our agenda, I'm asking for a motion to approve the personnel report as it appears, beginning in the middle of page 7 and continuing to the bottom of page 9. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the personnel report on our agenda as it begins on the middle of page 7 and goes through to page 9.
Second is.
Moved by Ms. Anderson, second by Ms. Martin. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Drake? Yes. Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Peterson? Ms. Thomas? Thank you. Ms.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Motion has.
Board members, returning back to our agenda. I'm at the top of page 27, open public records act. Ms. Boyle?
Yes. 24. One, request from Ms. Shinde. She requested copy of the contract 22. The contract, it was, and request a contract that provided. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Moving now to the record, and down to our informational items, Coach E.
Madam, I present this time, however, I do have a question to the board in reference to July. We had briefly in the past not had vacation purposes. However, Mrs. Boyle has brought to my attention that a need at least one need, particularly preferably July 17th, as a result of the bidding process, making sure that this information is posted out there a certain amount of time in order to have that one item approved. It will be to have at least one meeting the 7th of July. And at this time, for discussion, if there's any questions or concerns, Mrs. Boyle, where the bid process and any other questions.
I think maybe you can have this board just kind of fill in before, then the other questions, then we can field those questions.
So, Madam, we were notified that one of our vendors not getting paid at the current rate. So, you're only elected by the current CPI. They cannot manage the contract because they have contractual obligations. So we have that service back out. The bid process, there was a document that needed to be corrected. That you have to issue it. We issued it and then you're not allowed to public contract. You're not allowed to now accept it until 7 days after it's published. Vendors have to wait 7 days. No holiday, Monday, no day after. So they count. Pushed up. It has now. We can't get these. But we can't wait until this, what they do, just want to think because we want successful to start. So you can't push it to that if the current vendor is not successful and you have to get out there, you have to get time to get acclimated to their vendor. So we're requesting that we have the 17th now, so if we have a meeting on the 10th, that actually could go out the holiday period, it will go out Wednesday or Thursday, Friday. So we have a meeting now, we have to have it out by Wednesday, just a couple of days for the 10th. Yeah, so we can push everything to the 10th, and we could potentially reschedule it. We can have 17 we heard that.
It's simple, where we are, needs to happen. July 17th appears to be appropriate time to have the meeting for just that one, in order for us to meet all the requirements through the bidding and report process. So, okay, the recommendation, the 17th, we recommend the 17th be the meeting that we would like to have in July.
Okay, now, Ms. Bull, do we know who the vendor is?
I don't know. We haven't even seen at this point. We were going to see the responses tomorrow. That's been pushed. So we aren't even going to receive them until the 9th, so I can't tell you for successful.
Okay, so,
So Madam President, for the cancel or reschedule 10th to the 17th, it would be cool. We could have a full meeting then.
so board members, do we have questions? Do we need clarification?
Madam President, what type of discipline are we talking about?
It's the building maintenance.
Yes,
stuff, right?
still even make ground.
It's a big-
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just like to clarify that, when you hear the 10th to the 26th, that is with the understanding that normally meet the second and fourth Wednesday of the month. However, we don't have meetings. However, the argument, July 17th appears to be the best time to have it, because at that point, we meet all the requirements we have to have in order to award the bid. So we're asking for at this point, to consider having one meeting in July, and that would be on the 17th.
Board members, before I ask for a motion so that we can make a decision on this, are there any further questions? Is there further clarification needed? Okay, hearing none, so therefore, I need to know, I'd like to entertain a motion that for the month of July, that we have just one meeting, and that would be on July 17th.
Same time.
Same time. Same time, same place.
Here.
Yes.
Okay, motion to have a meeting on July 17th, 7 PM in the administration building.
Second, Ms. Martin?
Moved by Ms. All in favor, we'll take a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any nays? Ms. Will, you now publish the July 17th.
Thank you.
Thank you for this.
Madam President, may I have 1 second?
Yes.
For Mrs. Well, Mrs. Well, on the addendum, take your time. Page 7, item 24. After counseling with Mr. Thomas, he would like to reflect his vote as an abstention, which in my opinion would be entirely appropriate. I apologize for missing that.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Recuse on the
Yeah, abstain.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Dr. Boosie, that conclude your information. Moving now, board members, old business. If there be any old business you would like to discuss at this time, I don't know that, I would want to absolutely discuss this, but as we know, June 18th took place on Saturday, and, it was a very, very hot day. But I would just like to thank the students who volunteered, stepped up and volunteered, not knowing exactly what we wanted them to do, not really knowing how long we would need them to be out there, but they did. And they came through the basis. So I just think it's important to at least call out their names. As you know, we had thought that we would have a mascot to go around to be our good little mascot. Once Miss May put that mascot costume out, and I took a good look at that costume was heavier than the suit. And so therefore, Mr. Thomas generously donated one of our Winslow Eagles t-shirts so that the young lady who volunteered to be the mascot for that time would be the mascot for that. So her name is Nicola German, and as determined, she's a rising senior. So I just want to publicly thank her, along with the other students that came out who happened to be part of our National Honor Society. That was Sandra Woodgie, ORJIH. The second student was Rihanna Devine. The third student was Marcus Nicholson. And the fourth student who came out was Debbie Murphy. And I think it's important to know that while these are all high school students, we did have one middle school who came out, and she volunteered for us, and she just happened to be then Ms. Nieves' daughter, and that was Rihanna Nieves, and so we want to thank her too. So again, it was very impressive to have these young folks come out, not knowing what they had to do, but they came out, and so here again, that shows school spirit and that they love the school. Okay. Any other old business to be discussed at this time? Hearing none, moving on to new business. New business to discuss at this time, I think.
Yes, Madam President, as we all know, and I didn't know this ceremony was going to be for the athletic department tonight, but grateful that we are acknowledging that the department, as you well know, we've been trying to ignite and restore the Wall of Fame, and I just have a statement that I'd like to read in preparation of trying to get that back on track. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to speak before you today on a topic that should lie at the heart of our institutions, values, and missions, the harmonious integration of academics and athletics. At Winslow, it's important that athleticism is not just a physical pursuit, but a cornerstone of a well-rounded education. In athletics, there is education. Our students learn valuable lessons that extend far beyond the classroom through sports. They learn the importance of teamwork, discipline, perseverance, and resilience. They understand what it means to set goals, work hard to achieve, and to both victory and defeat with grace and dignity. These are life skills that will serve them well in any endeavor that they choose to pursue. We must immortalize our achievements to every opportunity we get, or if we don't, who will? Recognizing and celebrating our successes not only honors those that excel, also inspires others to strive for greatness. Our achievements serve as a testament to the dedication and hard work of our students, coaches, and staff. They are milestones that remind us of what is possible when we can combine passion with effort. We must not to achieve. Instead, we must seek out every opportunity to excel, to push our limits, and to reach new heights, whether it's in the classroom or on the field. We must foster excellence and determination. Our wall of fame should not just be a static display of past glories, but a living testament of our ongoing commitment to greatness. Each year, we must induct a new class, celebrate that distinguish themselves through their exceptional accomplishments. In conclusion, let us embrace the synergy between academics and athletics. Let us recognize that each complements and enhances the other, creating well-rounded individuals prepared to face the challenges of the future. Let us celebrate our achievements, big and small, ensure that our legacy of excellence is passed down to future generations. Together, we can build a brighter, stronger, and more successful community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Moving now, Mr. Long?
Yes, sure. The Winslow Township Board of Education highly values the input of citizens in making the important decisions that affect the children of our community. We also believe in the right of citizens to observe board meetings. To ensure that all of our citizens have the opportunity to attend school board meetings and offer comment, and to ensure that the board can conduct the business of the district, we ask that speakers follow the guidelines for making public comment. The board secretary will recognize those individuals in the audience who wish to make comment. We'd ask that you kindly respect the following procedures. One, all members of the public attending school board meetings must treat each other and the board with respect. Two, please state your name president. 3, please limit your comments to 4 minutes. 4, submit your questions in the event we're unable to answer them to the Board of Education with your name, address, and telephone number where you can be contacted. Your questions will be answered in a reasonable time. And lastly, individuals offering citizen comment are not permitted to make personal attacks on any district employee, board member, other testifier, or member of the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Board Member. Advancing through, I'm moving into public comment.
Motion to approve moving into public comments.
Second, Ms.
Moved by Ms. Andrews, second by Ms. Martin, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Boyle?
Rob?
Hello, my name is Robert Johnson. I'm from Berlin. Lived here all my life. Went to Edgewood. So I've in my early years, you know, I was started with the track team and just with freshman year, and all of a sudden Jim Thomas was on the team with me also, and then all of a sudden we had a guy come in, Dennis Mitchell. And when Dennis Mitchell came, you know, Mr. Bates' track team is always legendary and always already said they were already the greatest teams in Winslow. But when Dennis Mitchell came, we went to a whole different level. I'm asking the board if we can name the track at the senior high school after Dennis Mitchell. His successes this weekend were epic. And to see 3 runners under 10.9, you know, women runners under 10.9, I mean, he's being talked about right now, all over the world right now. He is the preferred coach in this country. And I'm just asking the board, it's time. It's time to put his name on that track.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, let me just say this, according to your policy, you have come before us and put that request. We would just ask that you put it in writing.
Okay.
Put it in writing to our VA, again, according to our policy. If we could have that a week from today.
A week from today.
A week from today.
Okay.
And which would be what, July 3rd?
Right.
Yeah. And so therefore, once we get that, we will, as a board, move on that and take that further.
Do I have to come back to this?
No.
Okay.
No, the next step is simply to submit that in writing, because we need actually to be able to say that it was not something that was just thought about, that we actually have a resident who has come forward.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Boyle?
Madam President, Mr. Cole.
Mr. All right.
Sorry.
Okay.
All right, my turn. I'm gonna write.
Hello. Mr. Thomas, I just wanted to follow up on what you said with the, recognizing achievements and the excellence within extracurricular activity and academic achievement at the school. And I would like to, if we can bring that back, I would hope that we would also consider expanding that the same way that we do with the lower elementary schools with the arts programs as well. And not only do athletics, but do that with some of the other higher achieving extracurricular activities as well. So that was my comment.
Thank you. Anyone in the waiting room?
Not at this time, no.
Therefore, board members, at this time, I'm asking for a motion to adjourn our public comment.
Motion to adjourn public comments.
Second, Ms. Martin.
Moved by Ms. Andrews, second by Ms. Martin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries.
Ms. Spitz, if I may.
Mr. Ryan.
Thank you. Ms. Spitz, typically, as you know, in and around the middle of the day, Mr. Davis will send out non-renewals. And there's an opportunity for individuals who have not achieved tenure on our staff, who have been advised by letter not renewed, to ask for two things: it's taking the reasons why they're not being renewed, and an opportunity to appear before the board and give comment. Typically, when someone makes that request, we provide them with a rights notice. And for those who may be familiar, I'll repeat it again. There's a case in which an individual by the name of Rice was involved, and it's basically taken on the name of its own as to what it means, but it's the district providing under law when anyone's rights may be affected, the opportunity to appear before the board and have that done with representation from either legal counsel or the union representative, whatever the case may be, and to have that in either closed session or open session. The majority of times that we sit here, we see that that occurs in executive session, closed session. So we would normally go into that process at right now. The individual who has been sent that right notice was also received a non-renewal notice, is here this evening and asked that that be heard no. So what does that mean? It's a little unusual request, but not a request that I haven't had several times in other locations. So they're entitled to what we refer to as a Donaldson hearing. And a Donaldson hearing is when a member of our staff who is not renewed is entitled to appear before the Board of Education, where they can attempt to convince the board members to offer reemployment and not accept the recommendation from both the principal and the superintendent for her termination, which is essentially what the non-renewal notice does. So in this instance, the individual has requested that it be held in open. So in a second, I will be calling them forward and asking them whatever it is they want to try and convince the board, like I frequently do in closed session. This would be your opportunity to convince the board that you should have been renewed and that you seek a reversal of the determination of the administration. That does not preclude in any way the board's ability to go into executive session for the purposes of deliberating and discussing the matter. So we can afford the individual opportunity to air whatever grievances may exist publicly, but that does not take away from the board's ability to go into closed session and deliberate on the issue or discuss the issue as to how each board member may feel about the request that's being made. Then, if there is a decision ultimately made or a sense made by the board that there is not going to be a motion to overturn, then no action is needed. To the extent that the board intends to overturn the administration and their decision to non-renew, and the individual will be again offered employment, that's something that we would do affirmatively and overturning, specifically by resolution after executive session, in overturning the decision of the administration and award that individual his or her job back. So we've been through this process loosely and close, but it's going to be a hybrid approach tonight for the reasons I've expressed. Does anyone have any questions before we begin? Yes, Ms. Martin?
No.
Oh, I thought you said you had questions. No problem. Ma'am, if you'd like to come forward, come over there so we can hear you with your representatives, whatever you need, take as much time as you need. This is not a 5-minute public portion thing. I'm limiting you to 5 minutes, but if you would identify yourself, and I'm assuming that you would have received the notice of non-renewal, received, correct me if I'm wrong, and a statement of reasons for non-renewal. So you have that information, you know what the district is thinking. So to the extent that you would respond to that before it goes into deliberations and make your pitch to the board, you have the floor.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Kathy McManaman. I am from West Hampton, New Jersey. I am a kindergarten teacher, but I've been assigned by the New Jersey Education Association to support our member, Ms. Margaret Hogan in her Donaldson hearing. As you heard, it's a lengthy process, so I am here to support her. She did prepare documents, and if I may, put them on the table to share them with you, and then I will turn the floor over to Meg. Thank you.
If you have an extra, if not, it's okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your attention.
Good evening. My name is Meg Hogan, and I have been employed as the office secretary at the high school over this past school year. I came to work for this district after spending a year as a board member running the parent group of the nonprofit at our son's school, School 6 in Winslow. Over the past year, I've had the pleasure of working with many different educators and support staff at Winslow Township High School. I was excited to see the school and people who ran the school that our son would be attending in a few years. I have been a multifaceted asset to Winslow Township High School by utilizing my extensive education, management experience, and skills learned as a small business owner for the past 14 years. During the first 8 months of my employment, I have not had a single disciplinary infraction from any administrator and have gone above and beyond anything that has been asked of me during my time at Winslow Township High School. Imagine my surprise when I returned from spring break to find a disciplinary letter in my mailbox as a result of a meeting that I had asked for from our building principal because he stated that he had an open door policy. I am hopeful that the Board of Education will review my corresponding documents that I've spent hours putting together and take note that the current situation stemmed from an initial meeting that led to continued issues with only one administrator. I'd like to bring your attention to the timeline of events, which is the second page of your large page packet of documents. That just gives you a brief 17 step timeline of events that only started to occur on March 10th. As you can see from the timeline of events, there is no other instances of disciplinary issue aside from the one administrator mentioned in the document. I would also like to draw your attention to the initial disciplinary letter that I received, which is Exhibit B, dated March 26th. This initial letter is filled with incorrect information, and that is why I felt like I needed to come here and explain more in detail the particular instances that contributed to why I received this disciplinary letter. I took the time, if you look on the back of that letter, I provided a 2-page rebuttal letter dated April 10th, explaining 9 different points that were not correct in that initial letter. Not only was I met with I was being told that I was being disrespectful, and that I was being unprofessional by providing documentation to support actual truthful information. As you can see, for 8 entire months prior to this March meeting, there was no, there was no, give me one second, I'm sorry. Everything that I've done being the secretary of the high school has been with purpose. I have engaged with staff members, I've engaged with administrators, parents, community volunteers, the list goes on and on. In the second packet that I provided to you, the smaller packet, there are 5 individual letters from different members of the community. 2 of them being current members, current teaching staff at the high school, 2 being secretarial staff positions, and the 3rd being an actual parent in the community with 2 special needs students in our high school who has dealt with me on multiple occasions. As you can tell from their words, I care deeply about my job and the students and staff in the Winslow School District. If I did not, I would not have taken the time to put together the document that you see before you. I have been an active member in our Winslow Township community for years, since I moved here in 2019. I have spent countless hours volunteering my time to the families and students of the Winslow Township School District. So I hope that the board will take everything that I have presented to you here tonight in consideration. I am hoping that after reviewing this information, the Board of Education will reconsider my non-renewal and perhaps maybe consider a transfer instead, as I know that has been done in our district multiple times before. However, I have loved the time that I've had at the high school and the impact that I've been able to have and the help that I've been able to provide our parents and our students, which has been pretty vast across the past year, and being able to actually take away from some of the workload of our administrators because I've been able to handle some of the problems that they would have given to the administrators. That's all I have. Thank you for listening and hearing my case.
Anything you'd like to add? Any further information whatsoever? Thank you. We have received your packet of information, which is your June 26, 24 letter. We just stated together one package, some supporting letters, as well as a document that has a timeline, an outline, and several exhibits up through Exhibit N. And I received them. The board has acknowledged receiving them, and the board will take that into consideration. So I appreciate you coming forward, and absolutely no problem doing this and open, and appreciate your remarks. Thank you. Madam President, with that, it would be appropriate for the board, I know it does have, I believe, 2 items, not mistaken, Dr. Cookie, to move into executive session, so may I? Thank you. In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, the Winslow Township Board of Education will move into executive session on June 26, 2024 at approximately 9 o'clock. Of the 9 exceptions which permit us to enter into executive session, we will be entering in under item 8, any matter involving employment, appointment, termination of employment, terms or conditions of employment, evaluation of performance, promotion, discipline, etc. The specific items to be discussed is deliberations relating to the Donaldson hearing, which, as I've explained, we have a right, the board has a right to do, as well as I understand superintendent evaluations. I would note that Dr. Cote has been appropriately raised by me via email, which he has accepted. I would anticipate that we will be in executive session, perhaps 60 minutes. And be optimistic.
All right, thank you, Ms. Long. Board members, at this time, I'm asking for a motion to approve our moving into executive session.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second, Ms. Martin.
Moved by Ms. Nieves, second by Ms. Martin. Roll call, please.
Ms. Dredden. Ms. Martin. Yes. Ms. Anderson. Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Ms. Thomas. Yes. Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
And Ms. Pitts. Motion is carried.
Thank you. At this time, board members.
If I may, Madam President, I apologize for interrupting. Ms. Boyle, would you ask Ms. Thomas whether she would go and participate in closed, whether it would be appropriate? I may call her. I don't know if she can hear me from here.
Ms. Thomas, did you hear from Mr. Hall? Would you like to? Yes. You
I
said-
will call her when we get there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Therefore, motion carried. Therefore, at this point, we're going to move into executive session.
That's it.
That's it.